players left, 2 new coordinators. Just how different, in your opinion, is year 2 going to be from year number 1?
Well, the thing is that everybody understands the process in terms of how we're going about things. Coming into the meeting last night, it was just a lot different. You know, you could feel it in the air. You could see people more comfortable, you know, with each other and with what we were going to do. And things that I talked about last night were the same things that I talked about a year ago. But they get it now, and they understand it, and they've been through it. It's just like I told those 17 seniors. It's their job to make sure, and what we did is we roomed all the upperclassmen with young guys. Now it's up to them to show our young guys as they come in here, okay, the Maryland way. And to lead them and be a big brother and say, this is how we do it here. You know, we don't cut corners. We do things the right way. Yeah, it is going to be hard. You're going to be held accountable. And that's the thing that's different. And you could just sense it. You could just feel it. And as I told the 17 seniors, when I met with them by myself, I said, I trust them. And they know exactly what it's going to take in order to get it done. And so now, that's why I said, it's going to be up to them to make sure that everything's taken care of in the locker room. So we as coaches can go and concentrate and focus to put them in the best situations that we can when it comes time to playing on the field. That we don't have to worry about all the extraneous things that you have that go on sometimes. So, you know, just a whole different feel, a whole different atmosphere. You know, as we got together last night and even out there today at taking the pictures.
Coach, as far as the health of the team, Kenny Tate and whatnot, who are you holding back, who are you easing in this week and beyond?
Well, that's a good thing because we really don't have, we have 3 guys that won't be out there practicing. Daniel Adams, who did fracture his foot over the summer, so he'll be out, but he was a young man that wasn't going to be able to play for us anyhow because he was transferring. We have a young walk-on who hasn't been cleared yet medically, and then also Michael Tart got injured at a summer job, and we just had an MRI on his foot to see where he's going to be. But really, everybody else, the only guys that will be limited, like when we go 2-a-days, Kevin Dorsey, you know, Kevin will only practice once when we go 2-a-days. The same with Kenny Tate, and the same with Joe Volano. So, and you know, and again, those, I know Kenny, you know, went out there in the spring, but Kenny's, you know, a really smart football player. The same with Joe, and you know, having them only go once a day on those days, they'll be fine. They'll be ready, you know, for the season. And then plus, what it'll do, it'll allow us to, you know, get some reps with other guys. And one of the things that, you know, we're going to do. I mean, we've got 33 new players that are here right now, and so as we start practicing, at least for the first 4, maybe 5, you know, we'll go 2 spots so we can get a lot of reps to see what those young kids can do. And so then, because you know how we have to practice is, you know, the first 2 days are just in helmets, next 2 days are helmets and shoulder pads, and then the 5th day is pads. So, you know, I want to get these kids, you know, acclimated and get them a lot of reps before you know, really get into our first scrimmage that we'll have on Sunday, and you know, this way, you know, we'll be able to take advantage of that.
Matthew Costello, WMC Sports. Coach, you've been here for a little bit more than 20 months, I think, at the job. What is the most important thing you've learned thus far as the coach of Maryland, and what is something that has surprised you in your 20 months here thus far?
Probably the thing that I've learned is just to make sure that when you see things that aren't going the way that you want, don't be afraid to make the tough choices and make them, but then also to make sure that you stick to your guns in terms of what you believe in, okay? Regardless of what people are saying on the outside, because you know what you want to get done, you know what you want to accomplish. and you don't want to take the shortcut. You don't want to do things that don't follow, what the university stands for. So I think that's the big thing, is to, I saw where, we weren't going in the right direction, so I made a decision to change our coordinators. And we did that. But we never went and changed the philosophy and the belief of how do we make these kids better academically, better as football players, and better as people. We haven't changed anything there. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I've learned, is you just, you have your beliefs, you have your principles, you stick to them, but then when there are some things where you've got to change, you got to step up and be able to make those decisions.
Over here, Coach. John McNamara, Annapolis Capital. I was wondering, from a personnel standpoint, be it the fourth linebacker, the first running back, the composition of the offensive line, from a personnel standpoint, what do you think is the most important thing to get sort of accomplished or settled in the next couple of weeks? And what will be the biggest load off your mind once that gets settled, personnel-wise?
Well, the biggest load off my mind is coming out of preseason camp being healthy and not having any injuries where we lose anybody, going into the season. I think, when you take a look at, offensively, all right, you got a guy in Kerry Boykins, you got a guy in Kevin Dorsey who's reliable, they're dependable, you can trust them. But now who's the third receiver going to be, or who's the fourth receiver going to be? Who are those guys that are going to be able to step up in terms of, getting you the third wide out, and the fourth and fifth wide outs, really, because, you're probably going to play, about 5 in the game. Now a tailback, Justice Pickett, is a guy who's played. Well, who's going to be the backup? Is it going to be Brandon Ross? Is it going to be Wes Brown, Joe Riddle, Albert Reed? Who are those guys that are going to, step up and either beat Justice out or, be a guy that, we can go to. The position I feel the most favorable about is at tight end. We've got 3 guys, there, Matt Furstenberg and Devontae Campbell and Ryan Schlothauer, who's played. And by the way, the thing is that we just found out the other day, Ryan graduated in the spring and he got accepted into the NBA program here at Maryland. So I think that's a feather in Ryan's cap in terms of having that happen for him and even for a program. But then I'm really anxious to see David Steinball, who's been injured, and now he's cleared to go, and what he might be able to contribute. Our offensive line, we got to find some depth. And we're going to have to take a look at all the guys that are redshirt freshmen. We got to take a look at the 2 newcomers coming in Mike Medeiros and Dick Brigham, to see what they can bring to the table. And then a quarterback, we've got to find out which one of those 2 is going to be the backup. They're both going to travel, but which one's going to be the backup. And so I think offensively we have a little bit more question marks to have answered, coming, going into preseason, and I'm sure we'll have those answered as we come out. Defensively, when you take a look at, in our front 7, I feel pretty good about that. I feel pretty good about the front 7 up on defense. And you take a look at, A.J. Francis, Darius Kilgo, and then Nate Clark. We got to see how he comes along. But I feel comfortable with A.J. and Darius. And then you got Joe, and you got Andre Monroe. You got Keith Bowers. You got Isaiah Ross. You've got those guys who played, in games here, and hopefully, Isaiah will stay healthy this year. But so I feel good about that. And then when you take a look at the linebackers, you have Kenny there at the Sam, and Alex Twine's behind him. And then again, the biggest concern is who's going to be the Mike, who's going to be the consistent player, day in and day out that is going to end up being that guy, either Cole or LA, or is it going to be a young guy? You know, a Sean Petty, an Albert Logan, a Brock Dean, you know, and then who's going to be the backup at Mo? You know, you got Demetrius. Well, now is Bradley Johnson going to use his experience and his expertise to hold off one of the young kids, you know, from being a backup? And then, you know, when you take a look at the will position, and you've got, you know, Drake there, but now you got Marcus Whitfield, and you got Clarence Murphy behind them, and then also you got a young pup, Roman Braglio. See how that goes. Now, what we've got to do is we've got to solidify, you know, some of the things there in the secondary, and most especially, I think, more with depth. You know, Dexter McDougal, you know, Matt Robinson, Eric Flanker has all played and started, you know, a number of games for us. JJ's the starting corner. Now, is JJ, you know, he's got to step up, and then how are these young kids going to come up? We just don't have a lot of depth there. We're probably going to have some freshmen in the mix in terms of the depth, you know, and that's the thing. And then, you know, how do all these young guys, you know, factor in to, you know, what we want to do? And then the decisions that I got to make is, okay, who are these freshmen that come in, might be able to help us on special teams, but then also can be a factor, you know, on offense and defense. And then, you know, we got it in the kicking game with Nick coming back off his injury. Ideally, you know, I'd like to have Nick just do one thing. I'd like to just have him do one thing. But if he's our best punter, and if he's our best kicker and field goal guy, that's what we'll go with. But bringing, you know, Brad in here, Craddock, and having Nate Renfro here, you know, I'm hoping that one of those two guys will be our punter, and Nick can just really focus and concentrate on being our kicker and place kicker. And if we do that, I think that makes us better. And then, you know, I think we're going to have talented enough people, as I told our team last night. You know, we've got to do a great job on the special teams because we've got some talented people who's going to be able to score some points, you know, by being a return guy for us. And so I think that kind of, you know, sums up, you know, where we're at. And I think the biggest thing is, like I said, you know, we want to, you know, we're going to have to scrimmage. We'll scrimmage 3 times. But, you know, some of the older guys, we know what they can do. They won't get as many scrimmage reps. But, you know, we got to find, you know, who those guys are that can go in and because we don't have exhibition games to help us with. We got to do it against ourselves. But, and then, like I said, we need to stay healthy. Need to stay healthy.
Hey guys, let's do 1 or 2 more. We got the seniors coming up next.
Randy, I just have like a housekeeping question regarding Nigel King. I remember, you know, he sat out last year, and I remember at the time you said it was, you know, essentially kind of served as a redshirt year, but I see this year he's listed as a sophomore. Can you just kind of describe the situation and why?
Yeah, I thought we got that changed. He should only be a redshirt freshman. Okay. He did not, unless something's changed and nobody's told me, but which could happen. But he didn't lose a year of eligibility. He just, you know, had to sit out. So he should be a redshirt freshman.
And one more housekeeping stuff. Any walk-ons put on scholarship heading into the season, and 2, any new roster issues since we talked in Greensboro?
No, we have as of today, as we're sitting here at 11:28 a.m. No, we have not had any additions or subtractions. You know, from you know, media day down in Greensboro, and no, at this point in time, there hasn't been anybody that's been awarded a scholarship who were walk-ons at this point in time.